Hey guys, Gavin back from thrivewp.com. Today we're going to be looking at a comparison between the classic editor from WordPress and the new Gutenberg editor. So prior to WordPress version 5.0, the editor that was bundled with WordPress is what's now known as the classic editor. After version 5.0, the bundled editor is the new Gutenberg editor. There is also a plugin which is called the classic editor. If you install that, it will essentially force the classic editor to be the default on your website for a bit longer. So if you don't like the new editor, you just don't want to kind of try and get used to it, you can install the classic editor plugin. Like I say, it will overwrite the new editor and you'll have the nice familiar classic editor. However, although it's probably going to be supported and developed for a while, whether other themes or plugins will continue to be compatible further down the road, I don't know really. So yeah, I'm going to try and do as best I can a comparison between the old and the new editor. This video is probably aimed at those that maybe have been managing a site for some time. They're very familiar with the old classic editor. They know where to find everything, how to insert things on pages and posts and what have you, and then suddenly their site's been updated and they've got the new editor and they just don't know how to use it or where to find stuff. So we're going to start hopefully from as basic as possible and just work our way through the different options and the comparisons and where to find things. So this we're looking at currently is the new editor. Okay, and this over here is the old editor. Alright, now you likely won't have this button unless you've got the Elementor plugin installed. And sometimes plugins will add buttons here as well. So this is a classic editor. What you're used to is a title bar, your kind of permalink or address of that post or page, and then your editor basically, where you do everything inside this box. So you add your text, you add your images, you can edit your text and so on, giving them, changing headings, what have you. You click within the text somewhere, you want to add an image, you select an image and you insert, and it will insert where you clicked your mouse basically. If you want to move that image, you can move it, follow the cursor and move it up that way. And again, you can do that with text or what have you. That's kind of how people know the classic editor. And then you've got a few options on the side, so you select your categories, your tags, post attributes and things that maybe are specific to your theme and your featured image. Then sometimes you will have underneath additional stuff like the Yoast plugin if you've got that installed. But generally, you've got your title, your link and your editor box. That is what everyone's familiar with. So when you come to get to see the new editor, it's quite a stark difference. So you have, if I just remove our title a second, so if you'll have a blank page like this. Okay, so this would be your title, and your permalink is not always visible. When you click in the title, you'll be able to see it and change it and so on. But it's not always visible because generally it doesn't need to be always visible. The new editor is about keeping things as clean as possible and also trying to represent what your page will look like on the front end of your site. Because what happens in the classical editor quite often is you'll get your post together, you'll put your images in, so forth, so on, but what you see here generally looks quite different on the front end, so you end up then having to save a draft, previewing it, coming back, moving stuff around. But with the new editor, the idea is that generally speaking, if it looks a certain way here, it should pretty much look the same way on your site. So like I said, with the classic editor you have your kind of add media buttons, you have a few editing options here, and you have your options down the right hand side. So with the new editor, everything is a block. So if you can imagine any kind of bit of content that you're going to put into a post or page, whether that be text, images, a list, a link, anything at all, is a block. So your page or post is built up with different blocks. Okay, and then different blocks have different options. So currently we've got a block here, although you can't see it. I will just add some text. So let's copy this a minute. So this is just some text, a text block. Okay, and each time you have a paragraph, it will create a separate block. Okay, so this is a paragraph block, and for each different block, it will have different options on the right hand side. Okay, so you have your document settings, which are what you have here in the classical editor. Okay, so you've got your visibility, you've got your permalink options, you've got your categories, tags, featured image, and so on. Okay, and then so for your individual block, if you click in a block, you've then got your block settings. So if we then change this block, just for demonstration, we'll go over this later, to let's just change it to a list. Okay, so now the block options have changed over here. That's probably not a good example because it doesn't give us many options. Okay, so we've changed it to a quote now, and then as you can see, the block options say it's a quote, and then we can choose whether we want a large quote or a regular quote. But that's just an example at how different block types give you different options. So we've changed it to a heading. We now have different options to set it as a H1, a H2, 3, and so on. We can set alignment if we wish. Okay, so it's just an example of how each block has its own kind of block settings. But if we just backtrack a little, okay, what we'll do is we'll just remove these blocks. Remove that block. We'll remove this block. Just remove all the blocks a second. So when you, let's take an example. If you have a page that's already published, okay, on your site, and you created that page in the classical editor, okay, when your site was updated, what WordPress did to ensure compatibility is they created a classic block. Okay, and the classic block essentially is the classic editor as a block. So when you come to posts or pages that you created in the old editor, quite often you'll find that they are just bundled into a classic block. Now that's all fine, okay, you're familiar with this kind of setup, but what happens is then you kind of start trying to use it like the classic block, and it doesn't work. So for example, you want to start putting some images in. Oh, where's the add media button? Well, I could use that, I suppose. That would work. It just gets a little bit confusing, and the reason they've done that is basically because so many sites have such different content. The best approach was to just move it into a classic block within the new editor, and then people can kind of then change that as they go. So let's say I click the plus button now, because this is how the new editor works. You can add a new paragraph, a gallery, so on. I want to add a new gallery, okay, and automatically, because we've got a classic block, it just adds it at the bottom, and there's no way of there's either moving it above this big block of text or moving it below. But what if I want the gallery in the middle? Well, the reason why we can't get it there is because we're using a classic block. So the best way to get around this basically is when you open a post that's been created before in the old editor, is click the three dots, okay, and then go to convert to blocks. So what happens is it will convert the old classic editor into the new block style. Okay, so now our page is now in blocks, which is what it should be in the new editor. Okay, so all these different paragraphs are now new blocks, and it's really simple. If we're typing away, we finish that paragraph, we want to go to the next one, you just hit enter, and you can carry on typing. That automatically creates a separate new block. Okay, it's It's absolutely brilliant. It's a little confusing to start with, but it is really, really easy to get used to. And then you have a couple of options then to add different things. So you might want to say, okay, right, above this paragraph, I want to add a gallery. So you just hover and you click the add button there. Or you can click the add button here and then just kind of choose where you want it afterwards. So we'll click the add button there. Okay, and we'll choose gallery. Now, just before actually I mentioned, if you've clicked into this paragraph, what you find is you can't get the plus button to come up. So just click out of into another block, and then you can just hover over and get the plus. So we're going to add a gallery, and as you can see, it's popped up straight in between where we wanted it to. We can either upload or choose media from our media library. So we're just going to choose, I don't know, a couple of images for now, and we'll select those. So that is now our images for our gallery. Okay, and as you can see, there is our gallery. So like I was saying earlier, the idea of the new editor is to try and give you a clear view of what it's probably going to look like on the front end. So this is our gallery, and like I said, each block has its own settings. So if you click in the block now, I now have a few settings that I can change. So I can set the different columns if I wish. So I can set it to 2 columns. Because we've got 3 images, what happens is the first 2 go into 2 columns, the bottom one goes full, just to make it look better really. I can crop images just to make sure they, maybe they're not fitting quite right or what have you. We can do that. We can link the images to something if we wish, we don't have to. And then you've just got some advanced CSS that you don't really need to use. So we'll set that back to 3, okay? And then you've got, upload an image. So you can then add more images to that gallery if you wish. You can also, you can remove an image from the gallery. And if you click the little pencil icon, you can go back to edit the gallery. So you can swap the images about. You can add to the gallery. So you can go in and find some more images you wish to add to it as well. So we'll do that now, and we can swap them around. So we'll pop me there, we'll pop that one there, and we'll update the gallery. You see, and now the gallery is starting to come together. We've moved some images around. We could then, as we've now got more images, we could change the columns to 4 columns, or 5, or even 6 if we wanted to. Or we could kind of change it right down to 2 or even 1 and just have images below each other. Okay. So we're just going to pop that to 4, I think. So we'll have 4 across there. We've got 2 on the bottom, just so it kind of makes it even and shaped well. Okay. So that's how we do that. We've added our gallery within our content. But that's how the new editor works, really. You have to think of any kind of content you want to add in a page as a block. Yeah. So anything you would do here, typing, adding lists, what have you, it's all blocks in this new editor. Okay, and you can literally just click the plus button and you can search. I mean, it gives you the most common, but you can search for other things. You've got your common blocks. You've got video there as well. You've got formatting, so you've got different things in formatting. You can put in a little table, which is new. You've got layout elements, so you can add buttons and stuff now, which is really nice. So we can do that now, actually, just an example. And I'll use this plus button this time, just to show how that works. So we search button, we click add, okay, and actually it's added it where we kind of were, where we clicked the last paragraph. Okay, so what you do with a button is you simply add text where it says add text. So we can just put click here, for instance. Ignore the bell, sorry. And then we would just put our URL or whatever URL you want the button to go to when it's clicked. Click enter to add that, that's fine. Then you can do things again. Each block has its own settings. The button block does too. So you can choose what colour you want your button. So there's a colour background, and you can choose your text colour as well if you wish. And you can actually set custom colours yourself. Whatever you wish for it to be, really. So we're just going to make our button blue, and we're going to kind of leave the text quite light. We'll make the button orange actually, because it stands out more. So that's fine, we're happy with that. We can close that if we wish. You know, we can choose different styles, so we can have an outlined button, we can have a square button. If we go outlined and then we go colours, okay, what we can then do is we can, if we choose a different colour, I'm just seeing if we can get it to stand out a bit more for the outline. Possibly not. You can kind of see a greyish outline, okay. So that's you know, we've now added a button that's clickable. We can save that draft and preview that a second, just so you get a glimpse of what it looks like. Just let that load. Okay, so as you can see, it looks almost identical to what we've got in the editor, and there's our button that's clickable. Okay, but as you can see, you know, we've got a text content, our button to the left, we've got a gallery, and our gallery here just the same. So the classic editor gives you much more of a visual idea of what it should be looking like on the front end, what, you know, what public see basically. What you'll also notice is the save draft and stuff is all different. So over on the classic editor, it's up in this box, whereas in the new editor, it's up on the top bar. Now if you save draft, and it will automatically save, that only means that your post or page is saved as a draft. Only you as a logged in member of the site can see it. If you want the public to see it, you do need to publish it. And you can click publish and then you think, oh yep, that's it, I've published it. But it asks you again, are you sure you want to publish? So you must make sure that you then click publish again for the post to actually be published to the public. Okay, hope you're following me so far. I know the video is kind of a bit here and there, but we're working through it gradually, the different elements. So hopefully you kind of should get an idea now of how to add different content. Now we're looking at, you know, okay, well I've added this gallery, but maybe I want it, you know, down here somewhere. Well, that's absolutely fine, because now we're using blocks properly rather than the classic block. We can just hover over here, and we can either grab it in the middle and drag it, or we can simply just click the arrows. And it doesn't look like it's moving, but it is. Okay, so we've moved it down like 3 paragraphs, almost to the bottom, as you can see, and that's now moved. If we wanted to move our button up to the top, we just go like that, and it's moved to the top. Or we can just move that down, and the rest of the content kind of moves, as you can see. Okay, and that's absolutely fine. So that's how you kind of move stuff. Now you might have added some text and you want to change some settings for it. Okay, and what you do is just click in the block. You've got some settings on the right hand side as always, so you can make your text a bit bigger or regular, change the font by size. You can add a drop cap which adds makes the first letter large. Might depend on the theme support. You can add some settings for color backgrounds, text colors, okay. But also every block you click in has its own little edit bar dependent on what that block is. So obviously the button block has alignment, and that's about it. You can set bold and italic, whereas the paragraph one has alignment, bold and italics, as well as strike throughs and so on. If we change excuse me, to headings, then it gives you some H2, 3, 4 stuff there. Okay, what we will do actually is we'll add a cover. I just saw it somewhere. Let's just search that cover. So we'll add that. We'll just pop that to the top. Cover is a new option in the new editor. So we'll use that image. Okay, and it's basically a cover image. And what you do is you have a full size image. You can add some text. Okay, and then what we'll do is so we'll leave it as it is for a moment. Now you can choose the overlay color. So if you watch this image, if I change the color, you'll see the overlay change slightly. Okay, and then you can change the opacity of that as well. Okay, and then text, you can add whatever text you wish. It really depends. So we're just going to go for, yeah, we'll go for a red overlay to match. We'll make that a bit darker. Okay, if we save that, then we'll pop over and preview that. And as you can see, you then have your cover image with the overlaid text and the overlay color as well. And that kind of is automatically added. You can change different things. So you can set a fixed background, so it's a scrolling image behind. So we can do that now. We'll wait for the page to refresh. Okay, so now you can see that image is fixed and it scrolls behind. Okay, and you have some different options dependent on your theme. Most of the time you can go full width. We'll save that and it will force full width. However, it might not work in this theme because we fixed the post set. Yeah, so it doesn't work in this theme. So that's another block, and various options relating to that specific block. Sometimes you can edit your images through clicking edit, the pencil icon. The three dots, you have a few options. So you can hide block settings. So if you click that, it removes the settings to the right. Okay, and you can duplicate it. You can insert something before or after. You can edit as HTML if you wish. All that does is it changes the block so you can view the raw code. You just need to click the three dots and edit visibly again to change it back. Okay, and you can add to reusable blocks as well. So adding to reusable blocks is quite good. So if you create something quite often, you don't want to create it from scratch, you can add it to reusable blocks. And what happens is, when you go to add blocks, you'll have reusable options. Okay, and we actually have one here which we created, which is a help link. So if I add a help link now, it adds it automatically. This is some text that we've created and a link, and we can reuse that in every post or wherever we want to use it. So that's really useful. And then of course you've got remove blocks, so we can remove that big image. Okay, so I think we've covered most of the basics around the editor. We're going to look at some other details now. So you've got your plus button up here. You can undo things, you can redo things. So if we undo what we just deleted, so that was our link and the cover, then it comes back. Or we can redo deleting and they're gone again. The info button is brilliant because it gives you a real overview of what your content is. So you've got, so far we've got 530 words, we've got one heading, 5 paragraphs and 8 blocks. It shows us our title and our heading. Okay, if we click the heading, no, sorry, wrong section. If we, so if we click the heading, as you can see, the page behind, it'll jump to that heading. Okay. If we added more headings, so let's add one above here. So just go heading. Okay, so now we've got 2 headings. If we went to the top of the page and we wanted to go to that bottom heading, we click and it takes us straight there. And then here we've got block navigation. So this isn't that useful, or it's certainly not as useful as this, because you can see what's kind of going on. This tells you what's there, but it doesn't show you visually. Okay, but you can kind of jump to those sections quite quickly. So we could jump to the button, you see. Okay, this button again is from a plugin, so you probably won't have that. Alright, so we've covered all those things so far. I'm just trying to think what else in the classic editor you would be kind of missing. Okay, so adding links. So we've created a paragraph. Like I said, each paragraph has its own settings, and as you know, quite commonly the kind of chain link icon is how you create links. So it's the same in the classic editor. You'd write your text, you would select it. Let me just grab our URL just to make it easier, and then you would click the link button and you would add whatever you want that to link to. Okay, so now that's clickable link to our site. You can of course just paste a link in, okay, and that will automatically kind of pull in some information about that in the classical editor, or it might just make that link a plain link. Again, in the new editor, you can kind of just paste that link in and it will pull the information as best it can. Okay, so it's pulled for us. It's actually, and the new editor gives a bit more information. It gives a bit of a screenshot and what have you, but you might not want it to do that. So we can remove that block and we can just select some text. We want to make a link, click the link icon, paste the link in, or if you wish, you can link it to obviously a page or a post you already have. Just start typing and it will find it. So let's see if we can find our, there we go. So we've got an introduction to the Gutenberg editor here. So we can click that and it will link automatically to that post then. We just click the apply button and that's now a link. Okay, you can go back and edit that link if you wish, if you wanted to change it. Okay, you can make it open in a new tab by clicking those three dots. Alright, and then of course if you want to break the link, you know, by basically removing it, you highlight it and you just click the button that's changed to an unlink button, and that's how you add links. Okay, so we'll just have a look at some of the other options over here now. So you've obviously each block has its options here. Your document has its options over here. So you have some visibility options and what have you, whether you publish it immediately. If you click on that, you can then choose a date and publish it. You can schedule it basically. So you can set it to post. You know, maybe you've got some work you need to get published and posted, but you're going to be away at the time and you don't want to be trying to do it on the train or the plane or wherever. You can schedule that to post at a specific time and date. So you would just choose your time and date, just like that. And as you see, we've changed the date and now the publish button changes to schedule. So by clicking schedule, it will schedule that post. Now, if you've done that and you think, but actually, I think I'll just publish it now. How do I publish it now? I've kind of done that. What you need to do is you basically just go back to the date currently, and you know, very close to the time that it is now, and then it changes back to publish. Okay, so then there's a few other bits. You've got your permalink again here, so you can view that here as well as up here if you click in the title. You've got your categories. You can choose where the post goes, and your tags. Your featured image is very similar setup. It just looks slightly different. So down here you've got your featured image. You click, you choose your featured image. The same with the new editor. You click, you choose a featured image. There we go, that's our featured image. You can, if you wish, choose to add an excerpt, which you know, will display it on your blog, or you just can leave it, do it itself basically. Discussions, so discussions as is over here on the classic editor. Basically gives you an option to allow comments or not on that specific post. Okay, and then you've got different attributes dependent on your theme, and you know, you might have additional plugin options here. So if you've got different plugins installed, you might very well have some options for those here. So we've got One Signal plugin installed, so we've got a couple of options there. Okay, we've got a modified schema plugin, so we've got a few different things that we've got extra options here. Alright, also if you've got Yoast installed, you will have that underneath here, but you will also have a dedicated Yoast button up here. So if you click that, okay, you can actually manage most of your Yoast stuff in here. So you can go to the snippet preview or give a pop-up. So rather than scrolling all the way down the page, you can just click here and then check out your preview here and edit it here and so forth. You can change your focus keywords and all your other bits that are related to Yoast. Okay, you can unpin that from the toolbar if you wish, doesn't really matter. And you can click the X like we just did, and it will basically just remove that sidebar so you can focus basically on your content. clicking any of these buttons kind of brings it back. Clicking the three dots then starts to give you more granular options, okay, for how the editor functions really. So at the moment we can change, we've got just kind of the standard view, but we can change that. So we can change it to a top toolbar, access all blocks and document tools in a single place. Sometimes people prefer that, so if we do this, okay, when we then click on any content, as you'll see, you know the hover edit boxes that came up before, dependent on the content? They are no longer there because they're up here. So if you watch this bar, as we click in different bits of different blocks, it will change relevant to that block. Some people prefer that because then it's always there, you know where it is, and you're not having to deal with clicking in a block and hovering to find the bits in the edit content bit. The other thing about this is that it kind of just frees it up a little bit. So if I just pop it back a second, as you can see, it's back to here now. It kind of hovers over stuff, so you can't always see what's underneath it or behind it. So that's quite useful. Okay, or you can do focus on one block at a time. So that's called the spotlight mode. So when you click on a certain block, everything else around it greys out. Okay, and you can use them both in conjunction. You can still have the top bar, but as you see, everything else is greyed out around. So if we click in the bottom block, all the other content is blocked out. It just helps you focus on that specific part of the content you're working on. Okay, and then you can go for full screen mode, okay, which basically kind of removes all the left bar menu and so on. So you've got all your menu stuff over here. You can go full screen, and it just helps you to work without distraction. It removes some of the top stuff as well. So literally all you've got then is your whole page is just editing your post. Okay, you can add your content, you can go back and forth, you can edit your different parts of your content. Obviously you've still got your right box here with extra options relevant to the block. And again, like I said, you can remove that, and then you're basically working in full page. And as you can see, it's laid out exactly how we see it on the site pretty much. I haven't saved the changes we've made, but you know, the gallery and what have you, it's all there looking exactly the same. If you needed the menu, you can just click this button and if you needed to kind of go and view other posts, you can do that by clicking that button. Or if you want to pull out of the full screen, you can just change that again. Okay, so that's some options there. I think I'll turn spotlight mode off, but I think I'm going to leave the top bar on because I think I kind of quite like it up there actually. So we're going to leave that there. Okay, and again, if you want to bring back your extra options for different blocks, you can just click the cog icon, and then you've got your block specific settings and your document specific settings. Okay, and I think that's really it. I mean, the classic editor, yes, you had the full no distraction view as well. It takes everything away. You have your kind of viewing it as HTML or visual. So all the same settings are there. It's just added in a slightly different way. So the only way I can suggest really in viewing it is any content you add, whether it be an image, whether it be a video, a link, anything at all, you have to view it as a block. So if you sit here and you think, oh, I really need to add, a gallery, but how do I do that? I mean, I've got text. If I enter, I want to put a gallery here, but where's add media? I don't know. I can't see any add media. I've got some bits here, but I'm not really sure what they do. Maybe if I click that, oh yes, that says add gallery, but it's all kind of guesswork at this stage. So, it's hard to suss it out when you're not familiar with it. But like I say, you basically got to view everything as a block. Each section is a block. Whatever you want to add is a block. And these are all separate blocks. These are our most used. But you can also tap into some widgets as well. So if you've got plugins installed that create widgets, you might be able to use them within your post as well, which is really awesome. So it does open up more functionality than what your classic editor would. You know, for instance, we can add latest posts. You know, we wouldn't easily be able to just slip latest posts into the middle of our text in classic editor. Not a chance. We would need to, you know, figure out shortcodes and come and paste it in and so on. So it's really awesome in that sense. You know, there's so many other things we can do. We've got many more embeds now. We can embed any of these bits of content. Okay, any videos. Most of these are video services, things from Facebook, and you can just paste a link and it will automatically embed it. You know, we've then got some Yoast stuff, specific stuff. We've got your reusable blocks. You know, what else have we got here? We've got layout elements, columns. Oh yeah, so we can create columns really easier now. Really easy. We can add media and text. So quite often I found myself actually wanting to add an image and some text. But how do you get that to lay out nicely the way you want it to? So you can choose an image from your media library. I'm just going to choose a picture of me. We can then start adding some content. Hey, I'm Gavin, so on and so forth, blah 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 blah. You know, add as much content as you like. Okay. Again, you can kind of swap those little blocks around if you wish. You know, it's all kind of there. Obviously this text here is a bit bigger. That's because it's selected as large. We can change that back to regular if we wish. You know, and then that then is saved and has that layout on the main site. So we'll go back and have a look at that now. So there we go. Image to the left, text to the right. And that's kind of, you know, that's a really neat, easy way to do it. You can, of course, you know, say if you wanted to, you've written all this text and then you think, oh, I want to put my image here. Well, what you do with that, okay, is you would click the plus button to add an image. Okay, image. You can go to your media library or upload, it's up to you. Which one's going to work best for this? Let's use that. Okay, so we've added an image above currently, okay, but just hang fire. So then we want to look at the settings and we go right align to the text. And as you can see, oh, that looks a bit funky. So it is trying to right align, but the image is too big basically. So what we can then do is we can just make the image a bit smaller. So we can change it to medium, or you can, if you wish, kind of drag it, you know, as you want it to be. And you can do it that way. So then your paragraph wraps around your image nicely. We'll see that change here now. So we've got the actual dedicated block that does this, and then we've got, you know, the image we've added within the text. And that block is kind of separate, so when you click on the text, we're actually dealing with a text. Although this image looks like it's in this block, it's not. It's kind of like a floating block as such. So when you click the image, you get your specific image options. So we can remove that image, or that block, sorry, and then the text just goes back to how it is. So that's how you can add images in your content and kind of align it. You know, so there's lots of different things you can now do that you couldn't do in the classic editor. So we'll just show you columns quickly. So as you can see, it's kind of added a bit of a blank space and it doesn't look like much, so it's a little bit confusing. Okay, but you can then add, yeah, we can do that. So we've added our link into one column. We've added, we can do that again in this column. Okay, so we've now got two columns of content that we've added content to. Okay, we can undo that if we wish. Alright, and then we can, if we want, add another block. So we can change that to heading. Okay, we can change that to a quote. You know, so we can have heading, we can have quote, and you know, you can have columns in that way. Okay, and again, you've got your different kind of settings for that specific little block. Okay, you can add another block below. So that's how you do that. Okay, we're just going to remove that block, and we'll remove that block. Oh, let's do that again. Thank you. There we go. Okay, so that's how you use the block editor, basically. It's as simple as that. I think I've pretty much covered everything. I hope I have. But that is essentially it, you know, whereas you would kind of really just work with this and this, now you can kind of work with each individual part of your page rather than looking at it as a whole page. Although it creates a whole page, it's kind of separate blocks that create the whole page in the end. Okay, so obviously, you know, you can do much more with it. You can add buttons, you can add columns, you can add, you know, image and text boxes, you can add recent posts, linking straight to them directly, all of these different things. So I think that's pretty much covered everything for that. And like I say, you know, if you're here, you're thinking, oh, I want to add some images to this, I know they're not in my library, so I've got an add media button here, I just go and upload them. But here I don't. But you have to think about the content first. So you think, okay, I want to add an image, so you need to find the image block. So you add an image block, then you get the option to upload or choose from a media library, or even insert from a URL if you wish. Okay, so if you click upload, you get the same option. You can choose an image, you can open it, you'll upload directly into your post. But what it does is it doesn't just directly add to your post. Let's just make that a bit smaller. Okay, it also in the background added it to your media library. Okay, so if we then went to add another image, for example, or actually no, what we'll do is we'll scroll down and we will go to the gallery and we will edit it and we will add to gallery, and we'll see from our media library in a moment that image we just uploaded was or is there or not. I think it's because we haven't saved the page yet. Let's just try add an image here from the library. Yeah, so there we go. So it's just there. So that's the image we just uploaded, and it uploads to the library in the background. And again, then you have your options over here. You can have some alt text. You can set specific image sizes. You can say 50% of the current size. You know, you can reset it, link to the image to somewhere. Okay, so that's how you kind of do that. I think that is pretty much it now. I'm sorry it's been such a long, drawn out, you know, long-winded video, but I'm hoping that it's kind of really covered some of the stuff that a lot of people who are very used to the classic editor and maybe just, you know, haven't really followed the change that WordPress has made, and all of a sudden you're landed with this thing, you just don't know what to do. That's how you work it. But I think the most important bit, or the thing to start with, is to change it to the block editor. So what I said at the beginning is when WordPress updated, it kind of just pulled this classic block, and we'll do it again, classic block. It basically pulled the classic block and just dumped it as a block like that. But of course you can't do anything with that really. You can change the text and so on if you wish, but if you want to add stuff in the middle of it, the content, you kind of can't. So the first thing you want to do before anything, okay, is you want to click on it, you want to highlight, oh sorry, another thing to mention, ignore the bells again, is that remember, if you've changed your edit bar to stay up here, then you won't see any edit options here. So because I've changed it and I'm kind of not used to it yet, I've forgotten. So yours will probably look like this. You click the three dots, okay, and you convert to blocks. Now it's important when you do this, check your content beforehand, have a look at what it looks like, where everything is, okay, convert to blocks, then check it again, okay, before you save, do anything else, check it again, just scroll down through, make sure it all looks as it should. If it does, then great, you're all good to go, everything's changed to blocks, and then you can start, you know, adding things in between, you know, adding different blocks and so on, moving stuff about. You can do whatever you wish then, once you've kind of converted it from the old classic block. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. If you need kind of any more help around the editor or anything else, in fact, to do with WordPress, leave a comment in the video. If you've liked this video as drawn out as it has been, please give it a thumbs up. It would be really helpful. And yeah, thanks for watching.